Yo, what's up guys, my name is Karo Ese and I'm back again with another sample. And for this sample that I'm about to break down today, it's inspired by Another Day Part 2 by larryjune, and here's a snippet of how the production sounds like. And from what you've heard from Another Day Part 2, it was in particular the groove and the 80s vibe that inspired me to make this sample. And so how I started this sample was I started with a piano, which is actually an EP from D50 Xenology, and I only just used 4 chords, which is, I believe that the chord progression that I used is 4-3-2-7, and it's in the key of E major, and it sounds like this. And before I carry on breaking down the other sounds that are in this sample, I just want to give you this tip that when approaching making 80s vintage samples, please consider the instruments that they used. Therefore, that's why most of the sounds in the sample are actually Xenology, because it is trying to model the actual hardware of these instruments. For example, the D50, there's an actual hardware of that whole instrument, and that is why I took sounds from the Xenology VST, which models the D50, because it was sounds used in the 80s vintage era. And if you want to make samples like this, that's definitely the route that you should think about when making these samples. I then decided to add a fantasy bell, which is also from D50 Xenology, and the name of the preset is Fantasia. And in terms of this bell, it's just adding sprinkles on top of the chord progression so that it doesn't sound just plain chords all the time, and this is how the bell sounds like. And also with this bell, I like that it sounds a little bit ambient and dreamy type of vibe, which fits well for the sample. I then added a synth bass, also from Xenology. The preset name is synth bass 1, and this is how the bass sounds like. And so with the bass, I wanted a very stabby bass, which is what Motive alumni from Rocker Collective, the pattern that he used for his bass on Another Day is a little bit similar, so I wanted that type of groove. And for the intro section of this sample, I also added a glass FX pad from Xenology, and it sounds like this. And so I just added that to also add a little bit of vibe. And I then added a lead from Xenology as well, and the name of the lead is called Fat Mask Lead, and it sounds like this. I then decided to layer that same lead with another type of pad brass from Cradle the Prince, and the name of this preset is called Formula Beam Brass Pad, and it sounds like this. And for this B section, my decision making was that I wanted something which will also serve as a melody, since I already had the foundation in terms of the chords. So before I talk too much, I also added another third layer to this B section with another sine lead from Xenology, and let me just play them all together so you can hear how they sound. So all three combined, they actually sound like this. And what I also love about these three sounds is that they actually add harmony to the chords as well. And then for the last section, which is the C section, now I added same chords, but I just put them in a plucky sound now, which is from Podolsky, and the name of the preset is called TUC Pluck Poly, and it sounds like this. I then decided to add a horn section, where I added a horn from Sinful Orchestra, which also plays a melody, and it sounds like this. And I also layered the horn with another horn from also from Sinful Orchestra, and it's just a different patch, and it sounds like this. And lastly, I just played the same bell Fantasia from Xenology. I used it as an outro, so I won't play it again since I already played it. Therefore, let me show you the effects I used for this sample. So for the glass effects pad, I just added a penman so that the stereo can play from left to right to kind of give you ear candy. And for the Fat Mask lead, I added a delay so that the lead doesn't just sound stagnant and doesn't sound like it's moving. And for the D50 EPiano, I didn't add anything. And for the synth bass, I added a chorus plugin to make it a little bit wider, because I was actually trying to model the actual hardware, so I thought that the chorus will make it a little bit wider, and that's the reason why I added it. And for the horn, I just added a Valhalla room with a room preset reverb because I wanted it to sound like the horns were played in a particular space. And for the master channel, I added a J37 stereo, which is a tape plugin from Waves. And with this tape plugin, I'm just saturating the sample a little bit. I'm also warping it just a little bit so that it sounds vintage and doesn't sound too modern. I then added a fruity balance, which is a volume knob to add the volume back in the sample, because I felt like I actually clicked the instruments to be very low in terms of volume. I then added a limiter 6 to also boost the sample again to make it a little bit louder. And with that said, let me play you the final sample, and the final sample sounds like this. And that's the final sample. I hope you really enjoyed this breakdown, and I also hope I was able to help you create your own 80s vintage samples. And with that said, thank you very much for watching my videos. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video if you found it useful. And with that said, my sample pack Food for the Soul volume 2 is still out. The link is in the description. Also for my new EP Relax It's Just Music, it's also out. The links are in the description of this video. And with that said, thank you again. I'll see you 2 weeks from now.